Today I am going to talk to you about every single thing that will be released in New World in the next 15 years. Now, if you want to know how I got this information, I'm not breaking any NDAs, I'm not some sort of crazy cyber hacker that broke into AGS's computers or anything like that. It's far more complex, and it's far more sci-fi-ish. I'm going to tell you at the end of the video the entire story of how I got this info. And if you don't believe any of this info, then check back on this video a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and then I'll be like, I told you so. But let's get started talking about every single thing that will be added to New World in the next 15 years. Alright, the very first thing is a territory control system overhaul. So the system you know now will be gone. It will be a completely different system for territory control. 50 versus 50 wars will be made more accessible to everyone on the server. It will no longer be dictated by the owners of the territories. It will be pretty much just like any kind of other battleground in an MMORPG. So it's going to be a lot more solo player friendly. A lot of people will be able to join these wars without having to bend the knee and join guilds and join clans and, do what they say. There will be a loadout saving system. I believe this is currently announced in our current timeline. Hopefully, if this is the correct possible timeline. There will be a transmog system so that you can look a certain way and then have whatever it is you're wearing. And I'm not talking about the cash shop skins or the Twitch unlock skins. A completely different transmog system. Like, say if you find a really cool axe, like a level 40 fire axe, and you like that look, you can steal that look and put it on any other axe in the game. So, and you can, they're also going to make it more advanced, where you can add certain effects of certain weapons to other weapons. Basically, it's like a, like a character creator, but for your weapons and armor. It's going to be pretty cool, but that one won't be out for a while. PvP scaling in arenas and Outpost Rush will be where all players are set to the gear score level of 600 if they aren't already at that gear score level, while giving players with 625 gear score a slightly higher advantage, but not as much as they currently have, so that there's a nice middle ground for, fun PvP activities. Now, this does upset some very elitist players out there, but, the majority seem to have liked this change, at least in the 7th timeline that I experienced in. And more info on that at the end of the video when I keep talking about timelines, okay, guys? So, Ranked Outpost Rush and Arena will have leaderboards. These will be shown on, websites. People will be pulling them up in forums and discords, mocking people's Outpost Rush rank and Arena rank. That's right. Outpost Rush will have a ranking system, so people will actually be compelled to try hard and do well. Cross-server PvP and PvE groups, so that's coming at some point. Open world PvP missions will be overhauled. New missions will have players engage in PvP skirmishes in the open world, using a risk and reward based approach, not like the current set of the game where it's like, go here and chop some trees, and if there's a guy, kill him. Right? It's going to be way more risk and rewardy, okay? So the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. Now, there are still no PvP servers. I'm sorry, guys. There's no PvP-based servers ever planned in the next 15 years because of this change. But it makes the PvPers happy, so there you go. Enemy PvP spells will now start having a slightly different color, which you can change. It'll have like a faint red color as the default, kind of on top of the usual color. So if it's like a frosty ice storm, it'll be a red frosty ice storm. Alright, players will be able to customize new hair, new facial features, even name changes. That's right, and this does cause some controversy. At least in the 6th timeline, it caused a huge controversy, but that was just the 6th timeline. I don't even know what timeline I am now, like 200. More emphasis will be put on players' styles, gear, perks, and attribute loadout customization, rather than everyone trying to go for best in slot for every slot in every situation like in other MMOs, okay? So this is basically removing the idea of best in slot from New World altogether. It's a really weird change to get adjusted to, but people ended up liking this one, okay? Corrupted Portals system gets revamped with new mobs and new boss fights, like actual real boss fights, not, oh, here's a thing that spawns at the end of your Corrupted Portal that's a damage sponge and does 2 attacks. It's pretty cool, guys. So mounts are going to be in the game as a completely on its own system, with its own progression. It's got its own tools, gear, skins. It's wild, okay? The skins get very valuable, so if you are looking to make some decent cash, then you should get in on those mount skins, because in 15 years from now, if you have the rarest, earliest skins, you are basically holding on an expensive NFT. You're essentially a multimillionaire, okay? So get in on that. Now, new Outpost Rush PvP maps instead of the completely separate mode, in order to keep players on a single queue that randomly chooses maps, similar to like Overwatch, okay? So new PvP arenas with different team compositions, including 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and 5v5, each with its own maps using a single queue that randomly rotates through the maps, okay? Just think of like World of Warcraft arenas. Players queuing up as a team will be prioritized to fight against other teams, but if they are in queue too long, then they will be, fighting against solo players, in which case the solo players won't take as big of a ranked hit as they would in a pre-made team. There will be boats and sea exploration. I know this goes against the current lore of the game, but you will be able to sail around in a boat and explore the sea. Not too far off from the island, of course, but there's gonna be some pretty cool naval stuff coming, okay? Including PvP naval combat and a PvP naval outpost rush map. So think of something like a kind of a copy of Sea of Thieves, or that Blackthorn, not Blackthorn, I forget the name. It's like some indie Steam game that's like got pirates and stuff. So there's a dueling system expansion to include player-created lobbies, all right? With spectating and tipping and betting. That's right. And this is kind of stolen semi from Albion Online, where you can like wager on duels. Like, oh, I bet I can beat you up. I wager, 10,000 coins and I can beat you. And then the other person can accept, and whoever wins the duel wins the money, right? 1v1 duel maps is, there's going to be a Roman Colosseum. And this mode will take place of the current unranked PvP arena, which will automatically become a ranked mode once the leaderboards are implemented, okay? So players not ready to play ranked mode can practice using the unranked dueling system instead. Duels will still have their own achievement track and rewards and all that kind of fun stuff, alright? Believe it or not, swimming and diving are going to be a completely added system to the game. They will include diving tools, skins, gathering of underwater stuff. It's going to be its own entire thing, okay? There will be underwater treasure hunting. There's going to be hidden discoverable islands in the world. All right, because you're going to go on like little naval missions. You're going to be able to discover islands, okay? Once these islands are discovered, think of a fresh server, okay? Once the islands are discovered, then they can be claimable by factions just like territories currently in the world. You, instead of like fighting a war 50v50, it's a naval war to get the island. You're not going to fight on the island. You're going to fight in the ocean around the island. Islands are empty when you first discover them. There's no towns. You're not going to have an outpost and, a little quest hub and town boards like you do in the current game, okay? This is going to be player-crafted stuff on these islands. Construction and building profession, that's right. We're getting stuff from the alpha back into the game. It will be usable on new island territories for both individual player houses, that's right, and company buildings constructed on empty lands that can be bought by players, and, so it's going to be like a whole thing with a new housing company headquarters from scratch, gardens to grow things, individual players, and a mini farm for companies. Think of Albion Online stuff, okay? Farming and gardening will be its own profession, all right? I'm looking forward to that one, but it's a long ways away. Wild animal taming. Now, this one was really tough to implement because of all the server-side lag, because people were exploiting this in the upcoming, in the future. This is all future stuff, like betas, right? Because I think Timeline 7, they had to scrap this one, so hopefully this timeline gets it. But wild animal taming, non-combat house pets, and a combat pet system. Think like Pokemon, right? Think like the silly pet fighting that World of Warcraft has, right? That anyone can summon a little combat fight, or a little combat pet to help them fight for a short period of time. It's pretty useless in PvE, but you can still do it. Wow, I am lagging here. Hold on. There we go. Oh, man. A lot of lag fighting this gator. Some of the new islands are going to be contested PvP and PvE zones that are not claimable by players. The PvP on these islands are not tied to factions either. It's basically free-for-all PvP. Think of Arcade, if you like purple flagged, okay? If grouped, players can kill anyone outside of their little 5-man group or their 50-man raid. All right, so players' controlled monsters are only usable on these islands. Puzzles there's going to be puzzles, and they're going to involve vertical exploration. So you're going to have some climbing tools and like a whole thing with that. There will be new NPC families, like non-corrupted humanoids, that are going to be part of a new dynamic open-world PvE territory invasion system, where the mobs gradually expand their territory control in phases, leading up to an open-world town raid against players. This is something that Conan Exiles tried to implement, and they never did. But New World eventually does, I think in the 8th year. This system is tied to territory control reset possibility. If players don't succeed in defeating the town's invasion, the territory becomes up for grabs again by any other faction, alright? The new PvE open world territory invasions mentioned will be triggered when players lose an instance invasion raid, the current, 50-man invasion mode. So they're also revamping the 50-man instance invasion raids with new bosses, new mechanics, new mutations. They're removing the minimum 3 group member requirement to enter expeditions, giving players an ultimate solo challenge to put their gear and perk choices and skills to the test. Think of the Mage Tower from World of Warcraft, but without creating content from scratch, okay? It's basically recycled content, but people like it. I actually really enjoy this. I like soloing them. I think it's really cool that you can solo the group dungeons now. Adding achievements and leaderboards for soloing these 5-man expeditions. Again, you're going to need a really good build to do these. Now, adding the ability to equip a second rune skill. I believe rune skills were just introduced on the developer blog yesterday. So they're adding a second one. You get 2 ultimates. It's like Overwatch times 2. Okay, and you could switch them like a second weapon. Okay, now supernatural melee and magic weapon types not seen before in other games. Okay, so this is like having mutant powers. This is going to be it's like a weapon, but it's not like, oh, you have a big axe. No, it's like I have like bones jutting out of my spine that I can poke you with and fly around with. Okay, new expeditions, both instance and mini open world ones, with new mechanics that require 1 to 5 players, with the solo option needing the highest gear score with the best possible gear and perk choices to beat the challenging bosses, which will give players a reason to want to work on min-maxing their character. Alright, because there's not really a good reason right now to want to min-max your character other than just to be really freaking baller, right? Soloing will still be hard and take long, but the rewards will be unique cosmetics if you do it, so you can show it off in town to everyone else that can't do it. And there will be, again, leaderboards for this. There's leaderboards for everything coming up, alright? New interior designs other than the plain, unpainted, crappy walls you get, especially for expeditions, instance raids, but also your housing. And it will be similar to the Tempest Expedition, which I think comes out. It should be out by now, yeah. And new territories with influence from basically every culture you can think of. Japan, India, Middle East, Eastern Europe. New toys and many fun games, including paid ones. That's right, people are going to be able to buy with real money, cash shop toys, where they can put them down on the ground and show them off, or put them in their house, or play with them like little squeaky hammers. And a fun one is an air horn. There's like a train little choo-choo set you can plop down, and just a lot of stupid stuff. Jump ropes, and yeah, it's like little pom-poms. It gets kind of Korean-y at this point. New faction-specific transmog gear, sets, and facial features that can be bought from the faction vendors after reaching the highest rank to emphasize that you identify as that faction. Alright, and then you have more open-world experiences and environment remaps, such as a new story-based quest with cinematics, new buildings, mobs, dynamic encounters, all that kind of fun stuff, as expected. Right, everyone should already know that those are coming. You got a combat overhaul, and a 3rd skill tree per weapon, not just 2 anymore, okay? This comes way later in the game's development, and it's still as buggy as you remember it now. And a 4th ability is added to the weapon skills bar. Can you guys, what are you going to do with 4 abilities, huh? It's actually turning into an MMORPG at this point. New legendary gear with new perks that help the player customize their playstyle in order to beat the new challenges in PvE. So yeah, they're always adding these new perks. It gets like the perks get so out of control. It really gets hard to like get best in slot, and I already think it's pretty hard. But 50-man plus open world and instance raid boss fights that make use of the new unique New World game mechanics. Okay, so let me just here's some random examples. Okay, like a bison boss that runs super fast in an enraged state, kind of like the bisons that do it now. Like if you're hunting bison, they'll randomly charge into you, knock you down. But this is a raid boss, so it one-shots you if it manages to hit you, so people have to dodge. And you can slow it down if at least 30 of your raid members are shooting it with muskets, so it will be a slightly slower, right? And you have to do this in the span of like a minute. Now, when it's slowed, it can be damaged by any weapon. Becomes vulnerable to taking double damage from the blunderbuss, as well as the cannon rune ability. Remember that got announced in the developer update. So there's like another one. It's like a dragon egg. It's got to be hatched, but then it turns into a flying dragon boss, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like it was just born. What's going on, guys? The egg will be like stuck inside a corrupted area, and you have to cleanse the corrupted area, of course. And then to cleanse it, you gotta have a legendary corruption cleansing staff. Must be crafted. So it's kind of like attunements, guys. And then after doing all the quests and all the players that have been attuned band together to close the elite corrupted portals, once you do all that, then you can go to the quest event and then hatch the egg into the dragon, into the boss fight, and then only ranged weapons can hit it when it's flying around in its phases, and then when it lands or flies low enough, melee can hit it, slice its belly open, Sword Art Online style, and you'll be having to dodge fire, getting burned by the fire, getting rezzed from being crispified by fire. Tail swipes, it's going to be like Onyxia all over again, but it's going to be New World. Imagine it fighting Onyxia, but with the New World engine. It's going to be like that, guy. And the dragon, when it dies, it crashes to the ground, shatters into pieces. The meteor effect from, what is it, like, was it Christmas time, where the meteors were crashing through the sky? It's going to be epic like that. When this dragon explodes in the sky, all of its guts and bits and scales are going to, like, just fly down like meteors and crash into people and kill them. It's really, really cool, okay? And you can loot legendary drops, basically, crafting stuff. So, and like an elite commander boss with a legion of soldiers, right? Think of like an invasion, but it's a raid boss. And so before you can even fight the boss, you have to kill the soldiers. Yeah, the soldiers can take damage from any weapon as usual, right? But they can only be fully eliminated with a headshot from like weapons like the bow, the musket, and of course some of the other unlocked weapons. There's going to be like a Gatling gun, a chain gun, stuff like that. They're pretty cool. So while the soldiers are still alive, though, the boss can't be damaged, and the boss will chase random players. The boss is it's kind of, think of like a big like 300 Spartan war, right? The commander, he's got the plot armor. Sorry for the lag on the screen. Laggy game right now, I guess. I think Steam's updated. Yeah, Steam is downloading a game, so that's why my recordings are laggy. But while the soldier's still alive, the boss can't be damaged. He's gonna one-shot anyone he managed to hit, because you're gonna have to be dodging around, okay? So that's the upcoming changes in the next 15 years. Some people are like, you're breaking NDA. Did you hack into their computers and get these leaks? And it's like, no, I'm not breaking NDA. I never signed an NDA. I didn't do any hacking or any of the sort. So let me go over now, for those that made it this far in the video, exactly how I got this information. And this is going to be something that no one believes, because it'll be like, haha, lol, epic May YouTube video, bro. And that's kind of the point, that no one believes this, because it's such an over-the-top, wild story. Alright, so how I got this information. For those that don't know, the world ends. The world falls, the real world, it ends, and it ends at the hands of Jeff Bezos. So here's why it ends, okay? Many years from now, in the first timeline, I was a researcher for Amazon. That's right, I was a high scientific researcher for the company. And at one point in this timeline, New World completely fails. Everyone bails on it because of all the bans and all the bots and all the glitches never being fixed. Okay? So, because of this, Jeff Bezos grows extremely bitter, and he orders his researchers and his top scientists, and he uses all of his billions and billions of dollars. At this point, I think he's probably got almost $1 trillion. I don't think he ever hits $1 trillion, but he basically uses all of his assets and his entire company that he's built over his lifetime to generate and create an AI, a super AI, that with the goal of inventing time travel, okay? So, and he succeeds. As a researcher, we worked on this time traveling machine using quantum AI, and because Jeff, he just wanted New World to succeed. He just wanted, like, it really, really upsets him. He becomes like a supervillain, like a Lex Luthor of sorts, because New World fails, and it just tears his soul apart. And so we try to make this time machine so that we can go back in time and fix New World and make it a better game, right? However, it causes the end of the world, right? New World fails, some other stuff happens, Jeff goes AWOL, he goes crazy, and the end of the world happens. There's way more details that I'm not going to get into about the end of the world stuff, but at the last minute, the lead doctor of this project, Dr. Gold, okay, Dr. Gold hits the button, and he sends all of his doctors and his researchers, me being one of them, back in time to try to fix New World, to try to fix the world so that it doesn't end. Now, Jeff Bezos doesn't get sent back with us, of course, because he wasn't there for it. We had to wait for him to like be away from this the science facility. But in every timeline, it keeps happening, and we don't really have a way to contact each other because things are always slightly different. Names are slightly changed. Okay, Dr. Gold could be Dr. Zach, right, in a different timeline, or anything of the sort. So Oliver, every time we go back, or every time that, essentially we're stuck in an isekai, which is Japanese for like being born into a different world. It's a different timeline, a different universe every single time. So, the only way for us to signal to each other that we were actually researchers or scientists from the first timeline is to do things that slightly predict the future, and that's what this video is. This video is to signal to my fellow researchers that have been stuck in this time loop for I don't know how many loops now, that I'm part of the team trying to save New World so that we can save the world itself, because that's what causes the end of the world, is the end of New World. Unfortunately, funny how that happens, right? So there are many other researchers, like there's researcher bits. We used to call them kibbles around the office, okay? There's researcher lead, one of the lead researchers who's actually, he got his doctorate, Dr. Kim, okay? He's kind of he's a bigger guy. He's all right. Oh man, I am lagging hard. Hold on. And you might have seen signs of this, because we all know what happens in the future. We all know who becomes the president and all the crazy natural disasters and stuff. And if you've ever noticed how like Simpsons predicts a lot of things, yeah. So someone on the Simpsons writing team was clearly an Amazon scientist or researcher from the first timeline, for sure. Anyway, so essentially, every single timeline, we try to do something different with the world to try to save it. I don't know how many time loops I've been in now, but every time we die or we fail, because we were hit with the way the quantum machine works is that everyone that's affected by it is forever affected regardless of what happens. So if I accidentally fall into a pit and die, then I just wake up in another timeline as a child again, have to live my entire life, and then try to solve this problem. And I've been trying to solve this problem for a very long time. So, of course, in this timeline, some of us have been trying to become influencers, like YouTubers, Twitch streamers. I actually believe that Dr. Gold might be trying the Twitch thing, okay? Every single timeline, we always look different, we sound different, our genetics are slightly different, we might not even be the same gender, okay? So... in this timeline, I'm obviously a muscular dude, but who knows what Dr. Asmodeus Gold might be in this timeline? I wonder. Or possible, Dr. Kim? He could be anybody at this point. And my fellow researchers, they're out there, like researcher Seth. There's a bunch of us. One of the researchers was always into medieval stuff. So we used to call him Sir all the time, like, a Sir medieval. Let's see, I'm trying to remember all my coworkers' names from the first time, like Dr. Summit. And there was some of us that weren't scientists or researchers that also got affected that might also be trying to help. It's really hard to determine though. Like, there was one intern, he basically, he was really lazy, he was very low on the totem pole in the company. A lot of people referred to him as like just a peon. Again, very, very lazy. So maybe he got sent back in time with us too. I remember one of the researchers, I don't remember his name, but he had a 5-head. I remember they hired one guy who was actually a duke from another country, but he was always such a sloth. And of course, in the first timeline, my name was Swoltholomew J. Benji, which I know a lot of people are like, Swoltholomew's not a name. Yeah, in this timeline, it's not a name that people would have. But in the first timeline, it was a very common and very popular name. As a matter of fact, there was 4 other Swoltholomews in my 4th grade class. I remember there was a red-haired one. Yeah, one of the researchers was named Brian. He had red hair. I remember him. There was Dr. Baggins. He always liked TV. And there was one of the doctors, I forget. He was like a British fellow. He had the same last name as Cloud Strife. And yes, there was Final Fantasy VII in the first timeline, but I forget his first name. I think it could have been Joshua. There was a researcher, Odd J. I remember Odd J. There was also another doctor we rarely saw, but he was known as the Slayer of Nerds. It was researcher Dan. I think some people called him Danny. Dr. Vulcan. There was one researcher. He liked lemons. We called him Lemony. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of researchers, a bunch of doctors out there. You know, we've all been sent back into multiple different timelines. As you know, who knows what we look like or what our names are or what even they're doing to fix this world-ending crisis problem. But yeah, this video will be proof 15 years from now that this is a real thing, and that if New World does not succeed and have a high player count, high player base, high view searches on YouTube, then the end of the world is nigh. And I don't even think that Dr. Gold and Dr. Kim, which some of them, some of these doctors, they went by different names. I know some of the higher end researchers would call them Mr. Asmodeus or Mr. Demo. It's up to us to save the world, dang it, to save the new world. And the only way that I can know how to do that is to pump out some of these videos addressing the problems like the botting and the glitching and the exploiting. And if you look right now, Amazon's AI, which we believe that Amazon's AI possibly found a way to send itself back in time. Amazon's AI has taken over the customer service aspect of New World and is trying to kill the game extra early in this timeline. So it's very vital that we somehow address the problems of the AI automatically banning people that are innocent, because it's been doing that a lot lately. And the AI has taken over the entire customer service ticket system. You can never, ever get a human response from that. So something has to be done. Hopefully, maybe Dr. Kim, Dr. Asmodeus make statements about these things. I don't know, but we gotta save the world, guys. I'm Soul Benji. Thanks for watching. Again, this is just a for fun video. Don't take it freaking seriously, guys. And don't sue me, Amazon. Just making stuff up, please. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, you better subscribe right now, or I'll die. We're all doomed if you don't subscribe. You listen, you can always unsubscribe later. I understand. If I'm playing a game that you might not like, I think I'm going to be playing Call of Duty for a while, so if you like Call of Duty, please sub. I make videos every day. Come back tomorrow for another video. If you want to financially support me because I'm a crazy lunatic that makes up crazy stories, then feel free to, you know, click that thanks button down below, leave me a monetary donation. Hopefully this video kept you entertained while you ate a tasty meal. And if you want to give me a tasty meal, I really appreciate it. Become a member. I've got some fun members only videos that are similar like this. This is not these kinds of videos I don't normally make for public viewing, but I thought, hey, why not? One every once in a while can't hurt my channel too much, right? I know I'm supposed to be a guide channel, but sometimes I just want to be a storyteller channel, damn it. Click the join button. It's $5 a month. It's like being subbed on Twitch, but it's on YouTube. You get emotes, you get a little badge when you leave comments in my live stream here on YouTube. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you so much. There's a video on the screen right now. You should probably click it. It's a really good one, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Also, join the Discord. There's a link in the description. Join the Discord. There's a lot of fun stuff to be had in there. I'll see you tomorrow.